Cadet Emma Walker sat in the last row of the classroom. She was the only human among 50 alien students. The other cadets kept looking at her. They were nervous. Emma was what they called a Deathworlder. She came from Earth, a planet that most aliens thought was too dangerous for anyone to live on. The Centauri Defense Academy was huge. The walls were made of shiny white metal. The gravity was set low so all species could move around easily. Emma had to wear special weights on her ankles and wrists. Without them, she might accidentally jump too high or move too fast. At the front of the room, Commander Lucas Barrett was teaching. He was an Altarian with blue-gray skin and 4 arms. He pointed at a large hologram floating in the air. It showed a battle map with many colored dots and lines. Today he was teaching about the Krillian insurgency. The Krillians were rebels who had been fighting the Galactic Council for 2 years. The hologram showed their positions in space. It showed their ships, their bases, and their supply routes. Emma took notes on her tablet. She wrote carefully. Her human strength could break the delicate alien technology if she pressed too hard. Around her, the other cadets whispered to each other. They spoke in many languages, but the translator devices made everyone understand. Emma was 17 years old. She was the youngest human ever accepted to the academy. Most cadets were much older. The Vorthan bird people had to be at least 40 in their years. The crystal-like prismatics needed to be fully grown, which took 60 Earth years. But humans were different. They learned fast. They adapted quickly. The Galactic Council had fast-tracked humanity into their alliance because of these traits. Still, many aliens feared humans. They came from a world with high gravity, deadly predators, and extreme weather. To them, Earth was a nightmare planet. Commander Barrett waved his upper arms at the map. His lower arms typed on a keyboard. The map zoomed in on a section of space near the Theta Corridor. "The Krillian forces have made their main base here," he said. His voice was deep and calm. "They have defensive positions all around it. Their supply ships come through this corridor every 10 days. Emma leaned forward. Something about the map bothered her. She studied the positions of the enemy forces. She looked at the terrain data. She noticed the patterns in their movements. The other cadets were taking notes too. Next to Emma sat Zektor, an Aviax warrior. He was bird-like, with bright red feathers and sharp talons. He kept his distance from Emma. Most Aviacs were nervous around humans. They had hollow bones that could break easily. On her other side was Thela, a Nishan. She looked like a large snake with small arms. Her scales were green and gold. She was one of the few who would talk to Emma during breaks. Commander Barrett continued the lesson. He explained the enemy strategy. He showed how the Council forces planned to attack. The hologram displayed arrows and movement patterns. "As you can see," Barrett said, "the Krillians have a strong defensive position. The geography works in their favor. The asteroid field gives them cover. Their supply lines are well protected." Emma frowned. She looked closer at the map. The data seemed wrong. The positions did not make sense. She had studied Earth military history. She had learned about ambushes and hidden forces. Something about this map reminded her of those lessons. "Class, pay attention to these supply routes," Commander Barrett said. "The Krillians have been very careful. They changed their timing to avoid our patrols. But we have found their pattern." Emma raised her hand. In the quiet classroom, this small movement caught everyone's attention. The other cadets turned to look at her. Commander Barrett's 4 eyes focused on her. "Yes, Cadet Walker?" he asked. Commander Barrett waited. His skin patterns shifted from blue-gray to a lighter shade. This showed he was curious. Emma usually never spoke in class. "May I approach the display, sir?" Emma asked. Her voice was quiet but clear. The classroom became even more silent. No first-year cadet had ever asked to approach the tactical display. It was not done. The other students shifted in their seats. Some moved away from the aisle, making room for Emma to pass. Commander Barrett's antennae twitched. This was unusual. But humans were known for unusual thinking. "Proceed, Cadet Walker," he said. Emma stood up slowly. She had learned to move carefully at the academy. Quick movements scared the other species. Her human muscles were too strong. Her reflexes were too fast. She could hurt someone without meaning to. She walked down the aisle. Her weighted boots made soft sounds on the metal floor. The Etherians pulled their delicate wings closer to their bodies as she passed. The small glimmer students pressed against their desks. Emma reached the front of the room. She stood next to Commander Barrett. He was taller than her, even though Emma was average height for a human woman. His 4 arms hung at his sides. His 4 eyes watched her carefully. Up close, the holographic map was even more detailed. Emma could see tiny numbers and symbols floating in the air. She studied them for a few seconds. Her brown eyes moved quickly across the display. 6 seconds passed. That was all. "Commander, with respect," Emma said, "this tactical assessment has 3 critical errors." The classroom erupted. Cadets gasped and whispered. An aviax squawked in surprise. Several prismatics chimed like broken bells. This was unheard of. A first-year student was challenging their instructor. And not just any instructor. Commander Barrett had fought in 3 galactic wars. He had won the Star of Valor twice. He had written the textbook they were using. He was a legend. Zektor stood up. His red feathers puffed out in anger. "How dare you?" he screeched. "You are just a first year, a Deathworlder child. Commander Barrett is." "Silence," the commander said. His voice was calm but firm. Zektor sat down quickly. Barrett's skin patterns had turned deep purple. This meant he was very surprised, but not angry. "Explain your statement, Cadet Walker." Emma nodded. She kept her movements small and controlled. "May I use the interface?" she asked. Barrett stepped aside. He made room for her at the control panel. Emma placed her hands on the holographic controls. She moved them gently. The map responded to her touch. "First," Emma said, "the Krillian supply depot is not here." She moved a glowing marker 40 kilometers to the east. "It is here instead." The other cadets leaned forward. They could not believe what they were seeing. Emma continued speaking in her calm, quiet voice. "The terrain data you are using is from the dry season," she explained. "But this region has silicate rock formations. On Earth, we have similar geology. These rocks shift during rain. The depot location would have moved." Commander Barrett's purple skin patterns grew darker. "How could you know about the rain patterns on Krillos?" he asked. Emma shrugged. It was a very human gesture. "The orbital data shows increased atmospheric moisture for the past 3 months," she said. "The rivers on the map have changed course. This indicates significant rainfall." She touched the display again. The map zoomed in on the defensive positions. "Second error," she said. "These defensive positions assume standard Krillian military doctrine. But look at these heat signatures." She highlighted several spots on the map. The heat patterns were unusual. They did not match the recorded positions of enemy troops. "The Krillians have adapted," Emma explained. "They are using tactics similar to Earth guerrilla warfare. They are hiding their main force. These positions are decoys." The classroom was completely silent now. Even the constant hum of the air recyclers seemed quieter. Every student watched Emma. Their teacher watched Emma. She stood there calmly, a small human surrounded by aliens, changing everything they thought they knew about the war. Commander Barrett leaned closer to the display. His 4 eyes examined the heat signatures Emma had highlighted. His lower arms began typing rapidly on his personal device. He was checking something. His upper arms remained still. "And the third error?" Barrett asked. His voice was different now. Less like a teacher, more like an officer receiving a report. Emma moved her hand across the display. She highlighted a section of space that looked empty. There was nothing there on the map. No ships, no stations, no asteroids, just black space with distant stars. "This is not empty space," Emma said. There is a gravity well here. The Krillians are using it to hide their reserve fleet. The Nishan cadet, Phila, raised her long neck. Her forked tongue flicked out nervously. That is impossible, she hissed. Our sensors would detect any gravity anomaly. The map shows nothing there. Emma turned slightly to face the class. She kept her movements slow. The sensors are not wrong, she said, but they are not seeing the full picture. Look at the stellar interference patterns. She adjusted the display. Now it showed radiation readings from nearby stars. The patterns seemed random, just normal space background noise. Emma traced her finger along certain wavelengths. See how these patterns bend slightly here? She asked. On Earth, we see similar effects in our oceans. When water flows around a hidden rock, it creates patterns. You cannot see the rock, but you can see how the water moves. A prismatic cadet chimed softly. Their crystalline body caught the light from the display. But space is not water, they sang. How can you compare them? Emma nodded. She understood the confusion. Physics works the same everywhere, she explained. Gravity bends space. Space affects how energy moves through it. The Krillians found a gravity well that is masked by stellar radiation. They parked their ships there, powered down, hidden. How did you see this? Commander Barrett asked. His purple skin was shifting to gold now. This was the color of respect among Altarians. Emma looked down for a moment. She seemed almost embarrassed. Humans evolved as persistence hunters, she said quietly. We had to track animals across long distances. We learned to see patterns, to predict where prey would go, where predators would hide. She looked up at the commander. The Krillians are using ambush tactics. On Earth, predators do this. They find places where they cannot be seen or smelled. They wait. They strike when prey passes by. Barrett's fingers flew across his controls. The main display split into multiple screens. New data appeared, classified intelligence reports, information the cadets were not supposed to see. The commander compared Emma's corrections with the new data. The room remained silent for 30 seconds. It felt much longer. Every cadet watched as their legendary instructor checked the work of a first-year human student. The air felt thick with tension. Finally, Commander Barrett spoke. His voice was very quiet. Cadet Walker is correct on all 3 points, he said. The silence broke. Cadets gasped and chattered in dozen languages. The translators struggled to keep up. Several students stood up. Others remained frozen in shock. These corrections match our most recent intelligence, Barrett continued. This information arrived this morning. It is classified at the highest levels. He turned to Emma. I must ask again. How did you know? Emma shifted her weight. The floor creaked slightly under her dense bones. Pattern recognition, sir, she repeated. Humans had to survive on a death world. We learned to see danger everywhere, to spot predators, to find safe paths, to track prey. She gestured at the map. The Krillians are not that different from Earth predators. They hide. They ambush. They protect their young and their resources. Once you see the pattern, you can predict their behavior. Zector's feathers were flat against his body now. His anger had turned to something else. Fear, perhaps, or respect. Are you saying, he clicked his beak, that you saw all this in 6 seconds? Emma nodded. The patterns were clear once I knew what to look for. On Earth, seeing patterns quickly meant the difference between eating and being eaten, between living and dying. Our brains evolved to do this very fast. Commander Barrett made a gesture with his upper right arm. The classified data disappeared from the display. The room lights brightened slightly. He looked at the entire class. His 4 eyes moved from student to student. Class, pay attention, he said. His gold skin patterns remained bright. What Cadet Walker has just demonstrated is exactly why the Galactic Council fast-tracked humanity's membership. He moved to stand beside Emma. She looked very small next to the 4-armed alien, but somehow she no longer seemed fragile or out of place. She stood straight, Her brown eyes were calm. Deathworlders do not just survive hostile environments, Barrett continued. They learn to read them, to understand them, to see patterns that others miss. This is their gift to our alliance. An Etherian in the front row raised a delicate hand. Their wings shimmered with confusion. But, Commander, they whispered, how can evolution on one planet help with space warfare? Barrett's antennae moved in what might have been amusement. Ask yourself this, he said. What is space combat? It is predator and prey. It is ambush and escape. It is resource protection. These patterns exist everywhere in nature. He gestured at Emma. Humans see these patterns because they had to. Their world shaped their minds, made them pattern seekers, danger spotters. They evolved to think this way or die. The glimmer student in the corner spoke up. Their small voice carried surprising force. Are you saying humans are better than us at war? Barrett shook his head. Not better. Different. Complementary. He looked at Emma. Cadet Walker, tell us about Earth predators. Emma blinked. She had not expected this. Well, she began, Earth has many types of predators. Some hunt alone. Some hunt in packs. Some ambush. Some chase. They all use different strategies. Give us an example, Barrett prompted. Emma thought for a moment. Tigers hunt alone. They ambush prey. They study patterns, learn when animals come to water, where they sleep. Tigers wait in the right spot. Strike once. Hard. She warmed to the topic. Wolves hunt in packs. They communicate. They drive prey toward other wolves. They take turns chasing. Tire out their target. Very different from tigers. And humans? Barrett asked. Emma smiled slightly. It was the first time most of the class had seen her smile. Humans were persistence hunters. We could not match animal speed, could not match their strength, but we could outlast them, track them, follow them until they were too tired to run. The Aviax cadet Sector clicked his beak thoughtfully. His earlier anger was gone. So you see space battles like hunting. Sometimes, Emma said, the patterns are similar. How forces move, where they hide, how they attack. Once you see the patterns, you can predict behavior. Commander Barrett returned to his teaching position. Cadet Walker has identified a truth we often forget, he said. War is not just technology and numbers. It is patterns, behaviors, understanding your enemy. He pulled up a new display. It showed hundreds of battle scenarios. Let me show you something, he said. These are all Krillian engagements from the past 2 years. Watch the patterns. The battles played out in fast motion. Red dots for Krillians, blue for Council forces. At first, it looked like chaos. Ships moving, attacking, retreating. No clear pattern. Now watch again, Barrett said. He highlighted certain movements. The same scenarios played. This time, patterns emerge. The Krillians always feinted left before striking right. They always kept reserves hidden. They always protected supply lines the same way. The class murmured with understanding. The patterns were there. They had been there all along. Nobody had seen them. Nobody except the human girl who sat quietly in the back row. Barrett turned off the display. This is why we need different perspectives, he said. Why we need Deathworlders. They see what we miss, think what we cannot imagine. Emma had moved back toward her seat. Several cadets watched her differently now. There was still fear. Humans were still dangerous. But now there was also respect, understanding. Thela the Nishan spoke softly as Emma passed. How many patterns do you see? She asked. When you look at the galaxy? Emma paused. She considered the question. All of them, she said quietly. I see all of them. The rest of the class passed differently. Commander Barrett continued teaching, but now he kept asking Emma questions, not to test her, to learn from her. The other cadets noticed this change. When the lesson ended, students gathered around Emma. They kept a careful distance. She was still a Deathworlder. But their fear was mixed with curiosity now. "How do you do it?" Thela asked. Her serpent body coiled nervously. "How do you see patterns so quickly?" Emma packed her tablet carefully. She had broken 3 tablets in her first week. Human strength was hard to control sometimes. "It is not something I try to do," she said. "It just happens." A young Etherian fluttered closer. Their wings made soft sounds in the air. "Were you trained for this? Did Earth military teach you?" Emma shook her head. "No special training. All humans do this. We just see patterns," she struggled to explain. "On Earth, everything tries to kill you. Weather, animals, plants, even the ground sometimes." Zektor stepped forward. His red feathers were smooth now, not puffed up like before. "Surely you exaggerate," he clicked. "No world can be that dangerous." Emma looked at him steadily. "Earth has storms that can destroy cities, predators that hunt in packs, insects that carry deadly diseases, extreme temperatures, poisonous plants." She listed these things calmly, like discussing the weather. The other cadets exchanged glances. They had heard stories about Earth, Deathworld, Hell Planet, but hearing it from a human made it real. "And you evolved there," a prismatic chimed softly. "For millions of years." 4 billion years, Emma corrected. "Our ancestors survived all of it. The ones who saw patterns lived. The ones who missed patterns died. Natural selection." Commander Barrett had been listening. He approached the group. His skin patterns showed interest. "Cadet Walker," he said, "I need to speak with you. Privately." The other cadets moved away. They whispered among themselves as they left. Emma stood before her instructor. She kept her posture relaxed but ready. "Walk with me," Barrett said. They left the classroom together. The halls of the academy were wide and bright. Other species passed by. Some stared at Emma. Word was already spreading about what happened in class. They walked to Barrett's office. It was large, with views of the gas giant the academy orbited. The orange and red clouds swirled slowly. Barrett gestured for Emma to sit. She chose a reinforced chair designed for heavier species. "I have taught here for 40 years, Barrett began. He sat behind his desk. His 4 arms rested on the surface. "I have never seen anything like what you did today." Emma shifted uncomfortably. "I apologize if I was disrespectful, sir. That was not my intention." Barrett's antennae twitched. "You misunderstand. I am impressed. More than impressed." He leaned forward. "I am going to recommend you for the Advanced Tactical Analysis program." Emma's eyes widened. "But sir, that program requires 3 years of study. I have been here for 47 days. The requirement exists for normal cadets," Barrett said. "You are not normal. You are human. The patterns you see instantly take others years to learn, if they learn at all." He pulled up a holographic form. The recommendation was already partially filled out. "The Krillian situation is getting worse," he continued. "We need every advantage. Your ability to see patterns could save lives." Emma was quiet for a moment. "I am honored, sir. But will the other cadets accept this? They already fear me." Barrett's skin shifted to a purple-pink color. It meant he was amused. "They fear you less now than this morning," he said. "Understanding replaces fear. You showed them that humans are not just dangerous. You are useful." He completed the form with quick movements. "Report to Colonel Davies tomorrow. She runs the ATA program. She is also human, one of the first to join our forces." Emma stood. "Thank you, sir. I will do my best." As she turned to leave, Barrett spoke again. "Cadet Walker, remember something. Your gift is not just pattern recognition. It is seeing possibilities others cannot imagine. That is why we need you." Emma nodded and left the office. In the hallway, she found Thela waiting. The Nishan had been her only friend since arriving at the academy. The next morning, Emma arrived at the Advanced Tactical Analysis Wing. This part of the academy looked different. More security, fewer windows, The walls were thicker. The gravity was set to Earth standard, which meant most other species needed assistance suits to enter. Emma found the office easily. The sign read, Colonel Lily Davies, Director of Strategic Analysis. Emma knocked on the metal door. Her control tap still made a sound louder than intended. Enter, a human voice called out. Emma walked in and stopped in surprise. The office felt like Earth. Real wood furniture, pictures of blue skies and green forests. The smell of coffee. It made her homesick. Colonel Davies stood up from her desk. She was older, maybe 50, with gray streaks in her brown hair. Her uniform bore many decorations. Her handshake was firm, human firm. Emma did not need to hold back. Cadet Walker, Davies said. Her smile was warm. Barrett sent me your file last night. Impressive work. 6 seconds to spot what our analysts missed for months. Thank you, ma'am, Emma replied. She stood at attention. Davies waved her hand. Relax, Cadet. Sit. Want some coffee? Real Earth coffee. Not that synthetic stuff they serve in the mess hall. Emma sat down gratefully. Yes, please, Mom. Davies poured 2 cups. She moved with the same careful control Emma used. The habits of a human among more fragile species. She handed Emma a cup and sat back down. Tell me about yesterday, Davies said. Not the technical part. Barrett covered that. Tell me how it felt. Emma sipped her coffee. It was perfect. How it felt, she repeated. Yes. When you looked at that map, when you saw the patterns, what happened in your mind? Emma thought about it. It was like looking at a forest and suddenly seeing the deer trail. Everything clicked into place. The patterns just appeared. Davies nodded. She seemed to understand. I get it. Same thing happens to me. Human brains are weird that way. She leaned forward. How are you adjusting to the academy? It is difficult sometimes, Emma admitted. The other students are afraid of me. I have to be careful all the time. Watch my strength. Control my movements. Davies smiled sadly. It gets easier. Not the being careful part. That never goes away. But they learn to trust you. Fear becomes respect. Sometimes even friendship. She pulled up a holographic display. Listen, Emma. I am not supposed to tell you this yet, but something big is coming. The Krillian situation is worse than public reports say. We need every edge we can get. The display showed star charts. Red zones marked Krillian territory. It was much larger than Emma had thought. They were spreading fast. Your pattern recognition skills are exactly what we need, Davies continued. But I need to know, can you handle the pressure? This program is intense. You will work with classified data, life and death decisions. Emma set down her coffee cup. She met Davies' eyes directly. On Earth, I learned to rock climb when I was 12, she said. One wrong move meant death. No safety net. Just me and the cliff face. Davies waited for her to continue. I learned that fear keeps you sharp. Pressure makes you focus. Emma's voice was steady. If my skills can save lives, then yes, I can handle the pressure. Davies smiled. It was a predator's smile. The kind that reminded people why aliens feared humans. Good answer. Welcome to the program, Cadet. We start tomorrow. 0600 hours. She handed Emma a data pad. Study these tonight. Basic pattern analysis algorithms. Krillian behavior models. Recent engagement data. Do not discuss this with anyone. Not even your friend Thyla. Emma took the pad. Yes, ma'am. She stood to leave. Emma, Davies called. One more thing. You are not alone here. There are 12 humans in this program now. We look out for each other. We have to. Emma nodded. She understood. Humans were pack hunters too. Even in space, even among aliens. They protected their own. 3 weeks passed quickly. Emma's days became a blur of advanced classes, tactical simulations, and classified briefings. She learned to work with the other humans in the program. They shared tips about living among aliens, about controlling their strength, about hiding their predator instincts. Then the alert came. Emma was in the simulation room when every screen turned red. Alert sirens wailed. The gentle academy alarms were replaced by military warnings. This was not a drill. All tactical analysis personnel report to operations immediately. The speakers announced, "Repeat, all personnel to operations. Priority 1. Emma ran through the corridors. Her weighted gear kept her movements controlled. Other humans ran beside her. They moved like a pack. Smooth, coordinated, deadly. The operations center was chaos. Officers from 20 species worked at stations. The main screen showed a section of space near the Krillian border. Red dots swarmed across the display. Colonel Davies stood at the command platform. Admiral Kothan was beside her. The prismatic's crystalline body flashed with rapid color changes, stress patterns. "Cadet Walker," Davies called out. "Station 2. Now." Emma slid into the tactical station. Her fingers found the controls. Data streams appeared on her screens. Ship positions, energy signatures, movement patterns. Her mind began processing automatically. "The Krillians have launched a major offensive," Admiral Kothan chimed. His voice rang like breaking glass. 8 of their battle groups, moving toward the Theta corridor. Emma studied her displays. Something was wrong. The patterns did not match. These movements were too obvious, too direct. She had seen this before in Earth history. Hannibal at Cannae. The Mongols feigned retreats. "Admiral," Emma said. Her voice cut through the noise. "This is a trap." The operations center grew quieter. Officers turned to look at the human cadet. Admiral Kothan's body flashed orange. "Skepticism." "Explain," he ordered. Emma pulled up the tactical map. "See these battle groups? They are moving too slowly, staying too close together. Real attacks spread out. Use speed. These ships want to be seen." She highlighted other sections of space, here and here. The sensor shadows, perfect hiding spots, just like the gravity well I found in class. The real attack will come from these positions. Commander Barrett entered operations. He moved to Davies' side. "Is this your prodigy?" he asked quietly. Davies nodded. "Let her work. She sees things." Emma continued her analysis. "The Krillians learned from our last engagement. They know we can see their old patterns, so they created new ones. But underneath, the core behavior remains." She brought up comparative data. Predators always protect their real target. These 8 groups are the distraction. The real objective is, she calculated quickly, mining station 7. Our main fuel depot. Admiral Kothan's colors shifted to deep purple. Alarm. If they take that station, we lose our supply line for this entire sector, Davies finished. Emma. Confidence level. 92%, Emma replied. Based on movement patterns, energy distribution, and behavioral modeling. The Admiral looked at Davies, then at Barrett, finally at Emma. He made a decision. "All units," Kothan commanded. "Ignore the main Krillian force. Defensive positions around mining station 7. Combat groups 3 and 5. Check coordinates." He read off the positions Emma had marked. Sensors swept those shadows. Minutes passed. The operations center held its breath. Then reports came in. "Contact. Enemy ships in Shadow Zone Alpha. 30 vessels, powered down. More contacts. Shadow Zone Beta. Full battle group hiding in sensor blind spot." Emma's predictions were perfect. The hidden Krillian forces were exactly where she said they would be. The surprise attack became an ambush in reverse. "Well done," Admiral Kothan chimed. His body glowed with golden appreciation. "You may have saved the entire sector." But Emma was not listening. She was already looking at the next patterns, the next threats. Her human mind saw connections others missed. In space, like on Earth, missing patterns meant death. The Battle of Mining Station 7 became a legend. Military academies across the galaxy would study it for years, but they would remember it by a different name. They called it Walker's Gambit. The Krillian attack failed completely. Their trap became their defeat. Ships that were meant to ambush were ambushed instead. The mining station remained safe. The supply lines stayed open. The sector held. 6 months later, Emma stood in the Grand Assembly Hall. Her dress uniform felt strange after months of combat gear. The medals on her chest were heavy. She was 18 now, no longer the quiet girl who had sat in the back of Barrett's class. The hall was packed. Thousands of beings from hundreds of worlds. The Galactic Council had come to honor their heroes. Emma was the youngest person ever to receive the Star of Valor for exceptional tactical analysis and pattern recognition that saved Mining Station 7. The announcer read, "For abilities that turned certain defeat into decisive victory, the Council presents this award to Lieutenant Emma Walker." Emma walked to the platform. Her movements were still careful, still controlled. Some habits never change. Admiral Kothan waited there, his crystalline form shining in the ceremonial lights. The medal was small but significant. As Kothan placed it around her neck, he chimed softly, "You showed us the humans bring more than strength to our alliance. You bring a way of seeing that we desperately need." Emma saluted. The human gesture had been adopted by many species now. She turned to face the assembly. In the crowd, she saw familiar faces. Commander Barrett, his skin glowing with pride. Colonel Davies, smiling like a proud parent. Thela, her serpentine friend, coiled in the Nishan section. There were other humans too, more now than when Emma had arrived. Earth's integration into the galactic community was accelerating. Each human brought their pattern-seeking minds, their danger-spotting instincts, their survival skills from a world that never stopped trying to kill them. After the ceremony, Emma found herself surrounded by cadets, new students at the academy. They looked at her with awe. The human who could see patterns in 6 seconds. The Deathworlder who saved a sector. "How do you do it?" a young Vorthan asked. Her feathers quivered with excitement. "How do you see what others miss?" Emma thought about her answer. She had been asked this question many times now. "Practice," she said finally. "On Earth, children play games, spot the difference, find the hidden picture, pattern puzzles. We do not realize we are training for survival." An Etherian cadet fluttered closer. "Will you teach us? Can we learn to see like humans?" Emma smiled. It was easier to smile now. Maybe not exactly like humans, but you can learn to see patterns, to think differently. That is why the Alliance works. We each bring our strengths. She spent an hour with the new cadets, answering questions, sharing insights, teaching them to look for what was not there as much as what was. The empty spaces, the gaps, the places where patterns broke. Later, Emma stood on the observation deck. Earth hung in the distance, blue and white and beautiful. The death world that had shaped her species, made them what they were. Colonel Davies joined her. "Nice speech," Davies said. "You are becoming quite the teacher." "I learned from good instructors," Emma replied. They watched Earth in comfortable silence. Then Davies spoke again. "You know what you have started. Every military academy wants human advisors now. Pattern recognition has become a required course." Emma nodded. She had heard. The galaxy was learning to see through human eyes, to think with human minds, to recognize the patterns that meant survival. "I wonder what else we will teach them," Emma said. Davies chuckled. "And what they will teach us. That is the beauty of it. We are all still learning." As Earth turned slowly in the void, Emma thought about patterns, about predators and prey, about survival and adaptation. The galaxy was vast, full of dangers they had not yet imagined. But humans would help them see the patterns, spot the dangers, find the opportunities. The quiet Deathworlder girl who had corrected a war map in 6 seconds had become something more. A bridge between worlds. A teacher of patterns. a reminder that sometimes the most dangerous predator is the one who sits quietly, observes everything, and sees what others cannot see. The galaxy would never look the same.